Good morning, everybody. This will be a video that'll explain certain information that needs to be given to the people that deal with, evidence, that deal with working stamps. So I'm just going to, I have to click this because my computer system's old. I'm sorry. Two things I want to explain. My father's relatives were in law enforcement. Now, my dad, Fred, was manipulated when he was working for a very long time. They had things that were, when he had a workers' comp case, and they had the information that he wrote down as not just verbally, but in written form, not just implied consent, but explicit consent that he had to explain to Mr. Clark, that was his attorney at the time, in a case. So I want to bring something up to your attention. My grandfather was named George Gatchins. He was not called John George Trump. It wasn't until discovery evidence in the Mineola courts was given to me by Judge Vasquez or Judge McCarthy, or those people's relatives were given to they gave me information, but what they didn't do was they didn't write anything down. See, the post office inspector came to my house. He never gave my parents a business card. Rocco and Mrs. Cohan, who's my attorney, just like my attorney Alan Goldstein that deals with estate planning and things related, needs that information, because how can I prove anything in court? Now, two things I need to bring up to the 7th precinct to begin with. First of all, to the 7th precinct of Nassau County. Those people in the 1st precinct and 3rd precinct need to explain to you about things related to the sheriff's department. See, my friend Brendan Shea, his father was Richard, and his father was a Nassau County police officer. My dad was labeled in the system as a police officer, and he's not a police officer. And they used information not just for my dad, but also my Uncle David. My Uncle David was involved in a lot of those things during the Cold War times. I can't really talk about my aunt's first husband because that's all related to foreign intelligence that I can't really go into detail about. Now, when I was a child, just like Matthew Perry here, nobody explained anything to me. So you need evidence. So the Logan brothers, they built that prime drink. Well, you know what happened with that prime drink? It's got certain chemicals, it's got certain ingredients in it that they used my information. They applied it into those cases. Now, you had that bail bondsman person, I think, I'm not going to mention his name, that they had on the show with the Logan brothers. Well, I'm going to explain something to you. I can't really talk to any of those people because the person, Dog the Bounty Hunter, I'm sorry for his loss. Just like that show with the pit bulls, and she's reforming those people on those certain channels. Those people I had to get trained by, but it wasn't in those fields. It was in the AmeriCorps. I couldn't touch anything in the Peace Corps because the Peace Corps was taking information from the AmeriCorps and they were manipulating people. And that's something that Valerie and I were explained to in court, and we had to explain to our attorneys that you need everything in writing. Our parents need everything in writing. Our relatives need to know what's going on. So I'm just going to explain something to you. You can't, Mr. President Trump, You can't label me as a staff member or make me or take my video footage, like my phone or my cell phone, and use it in your cases. You can't do that. That's illegal. Now, my Uncle Charlie and my Uncle Anthony from the Zangrillo family, because I'm going to explain this information. I got a job in the city when I was 15, 16 years old. I didn't have an easy upbringing. I had a learning disability. I had an IEP. I couldn't go into public school. They had to put me in private school to learn about language, not only about languages, but to learn other things, because the school district had an incident when I was a kid at Winthrop Elementary School. I was touched inappropriately. I was sexually assaulted. So I want to say that to you guys because I don't want to lie. And I apologize to Margaret, the woman who got assaulted. She got inappropriately touched and she had to leave. They had to put me in a version of private school. And my neighbor across the street here and my neighbor here, they know who I am because I had to do stuff related to Stanford, but on the MIT side. And that has to do with Nikola Tesla and all of that stuff with, I don't know what you call it, time travel, whatever it is. They were studying that for a living in those colleges. And I can't really talk about it because I had to sign documents that basically says that I'm not allowed to really talk about it because they have to explain it. But what I can say about during this pandemic is you're not allowed to see. I was in Newmic. I was a morgue attendant. Not only was I a morgue attendant, they had me in shared labs and pathology and labs. There was a doctor that's there who I'm not going to mention, who I was there for a year and a half. So the state controller's office needs to explain stuff to my advisor Rocco, and not just my advisor Rocco. Rocco's going to have to give me somebody that deals with this. So I'm sorry to say this, you're not going to the New York State Secretary of State. You really need to speak to those people that handled my workers' comp case, because you need to explain things about why my information is in family and surrogate court. That's related to all this stuff with that show with the pit bull, the woman on that show where she helps reform convicts, because all of that stuff is used. And the FDNY said to John, well, John, they in the 112th precinct and the 113th precinct, and not just those precincts, they had all your information. They had police reports. They were wondering who Howard Peterson is. And I said, you know who he is. He's a United States Marshal. They didn't get his gun or badge back. Somebody came into my house from Richard Sokolov's office and handed it to me, and I don't even know who this Richard Sokolov person is. I have no idea who the person is. Nobody said anything to me. There is multiple debt collecting agencies, and Newmic is involved. And then when I'm going to just explain something to Slater, and Suffman. It's very, very interesting that you're using my information at the Rockville Center church hearing with all of this inappropriate behavior when I had to testify about those related materials when I was in the Catholic school or the mitzvah school as well, because I had Mr. and Mrs. Farahan. I went to the temple of Israel. I'm sorry if I ridicule the name, where I had to go to that school because Dr. Mark Rubenstein's co-worker at the time was named Matthew Goldberg, and he was a neurologist at Newmic, and he doesn't ever want me going back there because those people did stuff illegally. So I'm going to just leave this message to you guys because it's about this. It's about Matthew, because he would say to me in person, you can't lie to the police. You have to go to a lawyer. You have to speak to your financial advisor. But you can't hide information from me. My parents are not given, you need to explain that to my parents, because your Homeland Security and NSA has all my parents' information on it. You can't have an Empire, Blue Cross Blue Shield, or a VA TRICARE insurance that has my credentials or my name on it, because that's illegal. So thank you guys. Have a pleasant and wonderful day.